Welcome to Module 5, Lesson 3, Multiplying Decimals. Today we're going to talk about how to fluently multiply multi-digit decimals. So we talked about this a little bit in the last class, and we talked about how there are some tricks here to make multiplying decimals a little bit easier. So make sure that you're taking your time, going slow, and working through the problems and making sure you're showing that work. All right, so here we go. First, we're going to take a look at what decimal multiplication looks like. So we're going to take 3/10 and multiply it by 5/10. So if you take 3/10 and color it in, and I'm going to use my highlighter to help. So if I take 3/10 and color it in, okay, so that's 3/10. Remember, that's like 30 hundredths. There we go. And then I'm going to color in 5/10. So that's like 50 hundredths. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This area here that is highlighted in both colors, that is your answer. So that crossover is going to be the product that your decimals create. Okay, so if we shade 3/10 of each 1/10, we will have, so shade 3/10 of each 1/10 that is already shaded to represent 3/10 of 5/10. I really don't like the way that this explains it, so we're just going to go ahead and you can just do that. Basically what it boils down to is when you're doing this, so you color in your 3/10, color in your 5/10, and that crossover is your answer. So we have 1, 2, 3 by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's 15 out of 100, okay? So even though we multiplied tenths, we ended up with hundredths. You have to remember that when you're multiplying, because these were tenths, when we did it as if it were 30 hundredths. All right, let's use an area model. This might be a little bit easier with the way the drawing comes out. So when you do an area model, you take and you have your box. So here's my 2. Oops. I don't know how I did that. That's pretty interesting. Oh, Holden, that's how I did that. So that would be Holden. That is messing with the screen on you guys. Sorry about that. I'll try that again. Here I thought I did something special. All right, so you have your box. So it is 2. Okay, so here's your 2 boxes, and then you have by 3, because you're doing 2 times 3. So this way across the top would be your 3. And then you have, so these are your whole numbers. All right, and then here would be your tenths. So here's 2/10, and here's 1/10. Not coloring the whole thing, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like. Now here you'll notice that you have these little 2 pieces here that are a lot smaller than the other pieces. All right, so let's take a look at what we get. We ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wholes. You ended up with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tenths. Okay, because each one of these, I forgot to show the cuts here. So like this is 1, this is 2, this is 3, right? Then 4, 5, 6, 7. And then you ended up these 2 little ones down here. Those are actually hundredths. So if you add those together, you get 6 and 72 hundredths. Okay? So that's what's happening when we're multiplying decimals. So again, if you take it and you do your box, I'll do my own drawing. That might help a little bit. So there's my 2, and there's my 3. Now here I have 2 and 1/10, and here was 2/10. Okay, but my 1/10 was all the way across. Here's a 10th, here's a 10th. Okay, so this is where your answers come in. So here's your tenths in the orange. And then in the purple, is your whole, or are your whole numbers. And then in the blue are your hundreds. Right? So that's what it looks like when we're doing, that's the representation of decimal multiplication. Right? So now I know that 2 1/10 times 3 2/10 gave me 6 72 hundredths. If I do 21 times 32, I get 2 times 1 is 2, 2 times 2 is 4, 1 times 3 is 3, 2 times 3 is 6. I end up with 672. Notice my numbers are the same, okay? My digits are the same. However, because I was using decimals here, my answer ended up with a decimal. So they're alike because they have the same digits, and they're different because one has a decimal and one has no decimal. Sorry, don't know where that came from. Actually, let's be honest, that came from Aurora. All right. So here we're going to take this and we're actually going to put it into a problem. All right, so we're actually going to put it to use. Now, I'm not asking for you to always draw a picture. I'm trying to help you understand what's happening when we do decimal multiplication. Right, so here we have Delia who bought 3 8/10 pounds of peppers. The peppers cost her $1.99 per pound. What was the total cost of Delia's peppers? So first I have to highlight the question. The question at this point is, what was the total cost? And we want to know the total cost of the peppers. So I want to know the total cost of the peppers. I know that per pound they were $1.99. Per is telling me that I'm going to have to do something. I know 3 8/10 is important because it tells me how much she bought. So to figure out how much she bought, yes, we could do $1.99 plus $1.99 plus $1.99 because we're talking about total. But then how do you account for the 3/8? Right? It's a lot harder to account for those 3/8 if you do not multiply. Right? So in this case, what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, we're going to take those 3 8/10 pounds, and I said 3/8. I meant 3 8/10. We're going to take those 3 8/10 pounds, and we're going to multiply them by the $1.99 per pound. So we're saying for every one of these, we spent this much. So how much is this extra 8/10 of a pound going to cost? To do that, what I do is I can ignore the decimal. Now this is different from addition and subtraction because with addition and subtraction, you have to actually line up your decimals to multiply them in the correct place values. That does not matter. That is not the case for multiplication, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, this is 3 digits and this is 2 digits. So I'm actually going to list $1.99 on top and I'm going to list 38 on bottom. I'm going to ignore those decimals. All right, so then when I multiply, now sometimes multiplication can get a little tricky, so I also want you to remember that multiplication is really us doing some cut up multiplication with different values. And I'm actually going to, oops, I can't move that down. Those two things are together. So we will make it a little bigger to give us a little bit more space. Okay, and I'm going to apologize because everything is off, but here we have 199 times the 38. Okay, so that's actually, so we're saying 9 times 8. So that's these two. then this 9 here is actually worth 90. So it's 90 times 8. And then this 1 is actually worth 100. So it's 100 times 8. Now I'm doing 9 times 30. Because this 3 isn't worth 3, it's worth 30. So now I'm doing 30 times 9 and 30 times 90 and then 30 times 100. Okay, so it really does matter that we make sure to get that extra spacer in there, because if we don't, it's like we did all of these times 3 and not 30. If this helps you to do your multiplication, go ahead and do it that way, where you then find your answers and add them up. If you're more successful that way, great, go ahead and use that. If not, if you're still great with traditional multiplication, absolutely go ahead and use that as well. I don't care which way you use, I just want you to have success. All right, so now I'm going to put this back so you can actually see it and it's not all jumbled and crazy. There we go. All right, so when I multiply and I do 9 times 8, it gives me 72. Carry the 7. 9 times 8 is 72 plus 7 is 79. Carry the 7. 1 times 8 is 8 plus 7 is 15. All right. So then now I have to add the 0, because remember this is 30, not 3. So 30 times 90, this 0 here allows us to get the right answer. So 3 times 9 is 27. Carry the 2. Notice this is like a 70 because it would actually be 30 times 9 is 270. So that's why the 0 is here. Carry the 2. 9 times 3 is 27 plus 2 is 29. Carry the 2. 1 times 3 is 3 plus 2 is 5. All right, so now I know that I have to add these two. I get 2, 16, carry the 1. 9 and 1 is 10, plus 5 is 15, carry the 1. 5 plus 2 is 7. Now, my answer doesn't just stay like this. To figure out where that decimal goes, I have to look at my other problems. So here, I look at how many numbers I have behind the decimal. So on this one, I have 2 numbers after the decimal, and on this one, I have 1 number after the decimal. 1 plus 2 gives me 3. So I have to move my decimal over 3 places to the left. 1, 2, 3. I always have to start from the right and move it to the left. So the answer in this case would be 7 and 562 thousandths. However, with money, we know that it has to end in the tens place, and this 2 tells the 6 to stay the same. So we know that she paid $7.56 for her peppers. Right? So we want to know, how can we check our answer for reasonableness? Last time we talked about how we could round to check for reasonableness. In this case, what we can do is we can estimate again. And for example, if my product was $75.62 and my estimate was 8, then I most likely placed the decimal point in the wrong place. So again, to estimate, what I could have done was I could have said, so I'll say estimate. And to estimate, it would have been, so the 3 8/10 would have gone to 4, and the 199 would have gone to 2. And so we know our answer should be around 8. Well, $7.56 is around $8. In this case, let's say that you just said, okay, 2, I'm going to put my decimal here. So it would have been $75.62. If that's what you got and this was your estimate, you know that your answer was incorrect. All right, so let's go ahead and give this a shot. You can do 3 with me, or you can do both on your own. As always, come back and check your work and see how you did. All right, so how this problem breaks it down is to see how many places are after the numbers are after the decimal. Here it's 1. Here it's 1. So I know I have to move my decimal 2 places. When I multiply, so the first time I got 378, because I ignore those decimals. Okay, and then now when I multiply the next time, I should have gotten 6,300. And then the next time I should have gotten 12,600. When I add, I get 8, 7, 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 3 is 12, carry the 1. 6 plus 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. 1 plus nothing is 1. This tells me to move my decimal 2 places, and it's to the left, so 1, 2. My answer is 192 and 78 hundredths. All right, here there's 2 numbers after the decimal and 2 numbers after the decimal, so I have to move 4 places. When I multiplied, I should have gotten 5,856 on my first one. Then I should have gotten 39,040. And then when I add, I get 6. 5 and 4 is 9. 8 and 0 is 8. 9 and 5 is 14. Carry the 1 is 4. So this tells me to move it 4 places to the left. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So my answer was 4 and 4,896 10,000ths. Okay? Please remember, it's really important that you write your problems neatly. We talked about this a little bit because you have to line up those decimals in the correct spot. This is why writing neatly is really important. Now we're going to take a look at estimation with decimals. All right? So in this case, we are going to take a look at some blades of grass that grow 3 7/75 inches per month. I know that I want to find out how much will the grass grow in 6 25 of a month. So while I read, it grows 3 7/75 inches per month. If the grass continues to grow at this rate, which is important, it's got to grow at the same rate, how much will the grass grow in 6 25 months? Okay, well to do this, I'm going to multiply because this per tells me to multiply. My numbers are actually the same length here, so I can just line up the 3 7/75 with the 6 25, and I can just multiply. 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 7 and 5 is 35, plus 2 is 37, carry the 3. 3 and 5 is 15, plus 3 is 18, and then I have to put my placeholder. 5 times 2 is 10, carry the 1. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 1 is 15, carry the 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 is 7. And then now I have to add 2 zeros for those placeholders. Now I do, because remember this is like 5 times 600 is, we got the 30, so it would actually be 5 times 600 would be 3,000. Okay, so now I have to pull the 3 up here. 7 times 6 is 42, plus 3 is 45, carry the 4. 3 times 6 is 18, plus 4 is 22. When I add all of those numbers together, I get 5, 7, 8 and 5 is 13, carry the 1, 7 and 5 is 12, plus 2 is 14, carry the 1, 1 and 2 is 3, and then I bring down the 2. Here, so this had 2 after the decimal and 2 after the decimal, so I have to move it 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the grass would grow 23 and 4,375 10,000ths inches in 6 25 of a month. Okay. To estimate, we would round. Okay, so first we would round 7/25 would round to 4. Make this a little bit easier. There we go. And then we would also round 6 and 25/100ths. We would round this to the nearest whole. And that's when we estimate, that's typically what we'll do is we'll round to the nearest whole number to help us kind of check our answer. We get 6. So then if you do 4 times 6, you know your answer is somewhere around 24. Since you rounded these numbers up, that tells you that this number should have been smaller than your estimate because you rounded your other numbers up, which gave you a larger product. All right, so let's go ahead and do these your turn problems. I want you to try them on your own, and then when you come back, we'll check your answer. All right, so here we go, checking that work. So we have 7 and 14/100ths times 6 and 78/100ths. And in your boxes, you should have gotten 49,980. I shouldn't have lined it up like that. That's really hard to read. So then it's 428,000, 400. And then when you added, you should have gotten 484,092. You had 2 after the decimal and 2 after the decimal, so you had to move it 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you got 48 and 4,092 10,000s. Okay, the next one, you have 2 after the decimal, 2 after the decimal, so you have to move it 4 places. You should have gotten 8043. And then 22980 or 22,980. And then you should have gotten 919,200. Then when you added, so we got 3, 12, carry the 1, 9, 10, 11, 12, carry the 1, 9 and 1 is 10, 8 and 2 is 10, so that's 20, carry the 2, 2, 4, 5, and then 9, and then again move it 1, 2, 3, 4 places to the left, so you get 95 and 223 10,000s. Rico bicycles at an average speed of 15.5 miles per hour. What distance will Rico bicycle in 2 4/10 hours? Okay, for that one, you should have gotten 38 and 7/500 miles. And then if you used estimation, you would have looked and saw that, okay, 15.5 could be rounded to 15. I would have rounded it to 16 because it's halfway. 2 4/10 would be rounded to 2. 16 times 2 is 32. So my answer should be somewhere around 32. Okay? Now, I also could have looked at it and said, okay, well, I'm going to round down with the 15 because that's his rate. So if I round down with his rate, but round up with his hours, I know that my biggest answer could have been 45. Right? So I know my answer should have been somewhere between 32 and 45. Alright, so here you have your guided practice. You're going to do all the problems on this one, but again, 1 and 2 will not be online. As always, if you have any questions, please be sure to email me or write them down so we can go over them in class.